Hey guys, Leroy Diesel here. Going to show you this real quick. Pomegranates starting to come in. Thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, showing you guys a video of the oil cooler hose kits that I offer. One is a oil cooler hose kit by itself. The other is an oil cooler hose kit that actually includes a brand new oil cooler. So you'll see those two options on the website, and then depending on the year, you might see three options on the website: a 92 to 96, then a 97 to 02, and then the oil cooler hose kit that is universal for all the years 92 to 02 trucks and Suburbans. This is not going to fit vans or Hummers. I've never had anybody call me for a Hummer. I've had several people call me on the vans, and I've made a few of those kits up. So if you have a van and need one, it's a 3-hose system, and sometimes the hoses vary in length. And anyway, there's some more logistics behind making those kits. Just email me and we'll get that figured out. So going on to this kit, the main difference is we're going back to the Teflon lined stainless steel braided oil hoses, and the reason for that is the Chinese have screwed us. Anyway, yeah, that's what they're claiming, is that we're relying on China for all of our rubber additives and things like that. And right now, those hoses, the old hoses, were made out of rubber and they were cloth braided, and they're kind of hard to get dependably now. I was always in a back order situation, and always having something that I was having to put out fires with and get those hoses. So these stainless steel hoses are pretty dependable and available almost all the time to me. We tested those at burst pressure, and they bursted at 11,000 psi, and here we're trying to run around 80 psi on our trucks. So they're very, very overkill, but it's just such a good value in a hose that's the one I buy, and that's the one I supply in these kits. So getting into the kit, the 92 to 96 is going to look just like this. It takes a 1-inch wrench on the hex right here. On this hex will be a 1-inch wrench. It also has little dash marks on it. That way you can identify it as being a factory oil cooler. It takes the O-ring style fitting. Let me turn this viewfinder so I can see. Okay, so it takes the O-ring, and when you put these in the cooler, just make sure to lube those up with some oil and then install them, get them snugged up, kind of like what you see here. On the 97 and through 02 oil coolers, typically those are going to be an HO system, which it takes 1.25 inch wrench on that hex. And there's a little confusion because 97 was a cutoff year. You could have any combination. You could have this cooler or this cooler, but you could also have 1/2-inch fittings or 3/8 fittings. So if you have a 97, you really need to main thing is pay attention to what cooler you're going to run. That's assuming you're going to run the hose kit instead of this kit over here, which I'll talk about in just a second. But if you just want to buy just the hose kit, then you need to know what cooler you have, because once you've figured that out, you can just buy both sets of block fittings and have everything you need at that point. Now, when you're buying this kit, which includes the oil cooler, you're set. For 92 to 02 trucks and Suburbans, you're going to get everything you need with a brand new oil cooler. So I think I said it. Again, I said I've done this video like 4 or 5 times now. I think I said it in this one, is anytime you're putting a fitting into this cooler or tightening anything downstream of it, make absolutely sure you put a backup wrench on here. And I should have brought my wrench out here. I had it in the previous videos. put that wrench on here so that you prevent this from turning. If this turns and you break that, physically break the oil cooler, then you're going to kind of be out of luck. You're going to have to get back with me and buy my oil cooler by itself, which is on the website. And then I would include the different adapters to go to my hoses. And also, if you're installing one of my new oil coolers and it rips or physically deforms or tears here because you didn't put a wrench on there, that's not a covered warranted item. That was installer error, and you're going to have to be buying a new cooler if you don't watch out and put that wrench on here. I'm not saying that it's super easy. They're not that fragile, but this is just aluminum, and you got a lot of torque on those wrenches when you're snugging these things down. So just put a wrench on them and avoid the possibility of damaging a brand new cooler. So what I have here is a mock-up of the hoses, just a short version. Kind of makes it easier for me to do this video. What I like to do is get the oil cooler in place, and by the way, there's two ways you can put this oil cooler in. You need to make sure that the offset, you see that it's kind of thicker from the table where the flange is to here, that goes towards the radiator. The flatter side goes out towards the front bumper. If you get it in backwards, the grill's not going to fit. You're going to be pulling all this back apart and flipping this cooler around so that your grill will fit. Either that or you're going to be cutting pieces out of your grill. So I get this in here. I have this fitting loose, the 45. I leave that 45 loose so that it can swivel. And then I'll leave it alone for a minute, and then I'll go back to the block. I'll install the block fittings. And another thing to take note of is this is well, not that it matters, but this is a 3/8 block, 3/8 pipe thread for a 3/8 port on typically 92 to 96 blocks. What I'm telling you to be warned about is on mostly 94, there was some extra flashing material on the exhaust manifold, which when you get there and you see what I'm talking about, there's one of the bolts that hold the donut gasket where the 3 bolts are, the studs. There's a bunch of extra flashing material that was on one of those studs, and when you go to turn that block fitting in, it hits that. So literally, just to get a Sawzall or a file or a hacksaw, and you're going to nib off like 3/16 of an inch off at the tip of that extra material there, and then the block fitting will go in just fine. On a 4x4, you're going to want to take down the 4x4 filter adapter, mainly so you have more room to work, and it probably needs new seals anyway. And I would suggest that you get the new seal kit from my website, which is in another listing. I think there will be a link in these listings to that 4x4 adapter, seal adapter kit. It's only $13. And so once you get the hose on here, you'll get it hand tight. Let me make sure I'm in the viewfinder here. Okay, you get it hand tight, and then cinch this down another quarter turn. Another thing to note is stubby wrenches are going to be your friend in this job. Trying to get a full-size wrench up in here is very difficult, and but you just have to work at it. I've sold thousands of these kits, and people do it on their backs in their driveway every day. Just be patient. It's not a fun job. It's super tight working up there between the block and the exhaust manifold. But like I say, thousands of people have done this, and you can also. Just be patient, and you'll figure out a way. So with the hose ran from the front to the back, well, let me back up a second. So going back to 4x4s, on 92 to at least 95, it may have went on up higher than that, but on a lot of those four-wheel drives, especially, I was familiar with the 93 when I had one, had a couple of them, but the 4x4s, the hoses come out of the block and they go back towards the steering column, up over the inner fender well, and then back over to the core support. We're not making that trip with these new hoses. We're going straight up to the core support. You might have to go under a motor mount or whatever. You just route this thing up as efficiently as you can, zip tie it away from sharp corners on the motor mounts, for example. Sometimes you can wrap these hoses in a piece of larger heater hose and then zip tie that hose on here to protect it if it's going to be lying in an area that you think you need to protect it. I also sell the spiral wrap protection, which is good for that too. But just zip tie it so that you're not going to have problems. And then with this hose secure on the block side, you'll have this up running up towards the core support. Then what I do is I attach it to this loose 45-degree fitting. Remember, I left it loose. Oh, I guess I had it bottomed out there already. Okay, so you'll put a wrench here. Hopefully you can see that right here where it's swiveling. And then go ahead and get your 1-inch wrench on here and secure that. Get that all tightened down. And it's still going to be swiveling. It's still loose because you still need to tighten this fitting. So with another wrench, in this case, with the machine fitting on this cooler, it's a 1-inch wrench. This is also 1 inch. Put your backup wrench here, and then you're going to tighten this down. And that secures. I'm seeing if I can get it tight enough by hand. Yeah, you see how that hose is off the table because now it's all locked down. So once everything's cinched down, that hose is now in place and it's not going anywhere and should never leak on you again. Well, I can't think of anything else, but if you have any questions, I'm easy to get a hold of. Go to LeroyDiesel.com. My email is on the website there. I prefer emails because I do so many transactions. It's hard to keep everybody in my head, so I rely a lot on email. And if you'll email me questions, I'll get you taken care of depending on when you email. It might be the next business day. And you can also call me. 99% of the time I do answer the phone. I get a lot of phone calls every day, so sometimes I'm on the line and you'll just have to call back. Or if I've missed your call and I see that, I'll try to call you back. But if you haven't heard from me, by all means, just give me 20, 30 minutes or wait till the next day, call me back. Or, like I said, the best thing is to email me. And you can go to LeroyDiesel.com. My email address is there. My phone number is there. If you have any questions, as always, just contact me. And then also like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can comment down in the videos below. I think I've said this in other videos, but that's how they monetize people, is how long you've watched a video, and if you comment and like and subscribe and all that good stuff. That helps out people like myself that are putting content on YouTube. So I can't really think of anything else. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a good day. Bye.